If you are a parent or a teacher, you may be wondering, how can you really start piano group lessons at the age of 3? Can you? Oh, the answer is absolutely yes, and with huge success. I'm Gloria Germain from Ultimate Music Theory, and I speak from experience, both as a parent starting my young children in music lessons and as a teacher teaching hundreds of students in the Music for Young Children program for over 20 years. And I am so honored to have Olivia Riddell, President and International Director of Music for Young Children, as my special guest today. So welcome, Olivia.
Hello. Hi, Glory. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited we're getting to chat today, Olivia. We've
Absolutely.
got lots of history and lots of stories to tell for sure. We've already got some of our guests listening in that are already asking questions. Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
So, Olivia, let's start with how did the NYC program get started and why?
So NYC was started in 1980 by my mother, Frances Belotis, who at the time we were living in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. My father is a military man, navigator, and so we were there, and Frances was teaching another group method, and she really was not happy. Mm-hmm. And she would be coming home from teaching, and she would be complaining and giving her feedback at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
And so Gunnar was like, well, then quit your complaining and write your own program.
Exactly.
That's what she did. And so she, in 1979 is when they had the conversation. And in a year, she had essentially all of the curriculum written originally. From there, it just grew. And what really helped NYC grow, and Frances had about 100 students in the program within that first year in 1980. Wow. And then with Gunnar being in the military, we got posted around. So every time we moved, Frances had to train teachers to take over her students as well and grow. And so it sort of happened organically through the military and him being posted. And that's how it got started.
Wow. Well, I love the NYC program, as you know, and today you're going to learn about the benefits of starting group lessons at an early age. And we're also going to discover 3 reasons why parents need to participate in music lessons, especially when kids are ages 3 to 8, right?
Yes.
But first, let's talk about how it all started, Olivia, with you. So how did you get started with your music lessons?
Well, okay, so to sort of build on where we left off on how it started, I was in this other program that Frances was teaching, and she wasn't happy with how I was progressing, and I do have an older brother as well. So as soon as she could, I got into NYC. I started in Sunshine 1, which is the level for 3-year-olds. I went through the whole program, graduated Moonbeams 3, which is our final level of the method. Took my grade 1 piano exam, as it was called at that time, through RCM. Did my level 1 piano, my level 1 theory exam, and then I expanded. I started taking singing lessons. I started taking flute lessons as well. And by the time I was 16, I'd reached my grade 10 piano, grade 9 singing, grade 8 flute, grade 2 recorder even. I had even finished all of the theory requirements possible from RCM, even doing my junior musicianship exam. So that's how my life went. I was actually a registered music teacher at the age, I got my 25-year certificate this year.
Wow.
So I started in the registered music teachers at 16, I guess, as well. So, and then I moved along and I stayed active within the registered music teachers. I'm past president of our Ottawa region branch, as well as I'm the past chair of Conservatory Canada. I've studied all over, had some wonderful teachers. So that's how I got started.
Wow. Doing all of those things, you could start your own band, just you playing. I mean, not only have you been teaching NYC, but you're also running the business together with your husband, David.
Yes.
I'm sure you have a few secrets that you could tell us about that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yes, I do.
So what motivated you to take this musical journey and take the NYC business to the next step?
It's really interesting. I had taken a break from NYC, working in it as the child in administration and things like that. I wanted to grow my own roots, get my feet under myself. David and I were in Toronto, working in corporate Toronto, and really actually enjoying it. And Gunner's a 5-year planner. So he approached us in 2000 and said, well, what do you think about purchasing NYC? Mm-hmm. And we said no, because we weren't sure we wanted to go that direction. And we had actually started thinking about moving to Vancouver and all of those different things in our late 20s, as you do. And then we thought about it and we're like, why are we saying no? You know, and David and I don't fancy ourselves as entrepreneurs. We don't, even though we believe in entrepreneurs and supporting entrepreneurs and all of those different things, what we want to do is support and sustain and grow. And it was an opportunity that we really could not dismiss. And Music for Young Children has made such an impact on so many families across Canada and the world. We didn't want to see it piecemealed. We didn't want it to go to a commercial conglomerate and just be not what France's original vision was in providing, you know, a solid music education to young children. We didn't want to have it changed. The heart of NYC is so important. So that's what motivated us.
Yeah. And I think you really said it, Olivia, that NYC, it almost has its own heart, right?
Yes.
that it is there. And I remember when I was doing my NLP training and I was modeling some of the things that I was studying after Francis. And I remember, you know, in this day and age, we communicate and explore other avenues because of the internet. But back then, when she started the program, and as you said, you were moving constantly because your dad was in the military, that you had an opportunity to meet and grow. But I remember her saying it is still the personal connection of, you know, teacher training and leaving that location and, you know, eventually moving. And obviously you came to Winnipeg and that's when, you know, I became involved. And I really want to say congratulations, first of all, on
thank you.
Massive success for Music for Young Children, Olivia. And NYC, I think I understand now, has more than 24,000 students, 900 teachers on 3 continents.
Yes.
And you're celebrating NYC's 40th birthday just around the corner. And seriously, that is a lot to celebrate and a lot to be proud of, Olivia.
Thank you. Yeah, we are very, very proud.
I guess, and so you should be. I think one of the questions that I have for you is really, how does the program work as a child and parent? So for those of you that are not familiar with NYC, and I see some comments coming in here, and Christopher, I know we're getting to the big reveal, by the way, Christopher, he said, talking about the need for parental involvement in lessons. He said, I wish more parents would at least stay through the lessons. Yes, absolutely,
yes,
Christopher.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, we're going to be getting to that. So, Olivia, share with us, how does the NYC program work? It's a child and parent program. It's 1 hour weekly group lessons. So how does that work?
So a parent or a guardian, grandma, grandpa, or someone has to attend the class with the child. Right. We encourage that whoever comes to class with the child is going to provide some support at home. Yeah. And how it works in class is that parents are 100% participant with their children. And I joke with my families, and especially the entry point, the new families that are coming in, to the moms and the dads, it's like, this is your workout session too. Yeah. It's multitasking, because in an hour-long lesson for a 3-year-old, you have approximately 21 up and down activities.
Yeah.
So when you're down on the ground, the parent is there and helping prepare the child. So they're helping with classroom management. They're helping with being with support. If a child's not feeling that great that day, or they're questioning or having a little bit of self-doubt or something like that, the parent's a wonderful support to have there. Sometimes it can happen the opposite way, and the parent and the child aren't getting along that day, but that's okay. We have different ways of classroom management to help out with that as well.
Yes.
And essentially the parent is there actively learning and engaging with the child. And it's a very special moment because a lot of children don't get to see their parents do this anymore. Right. You know, they're singing, they're dancing like dinosaurs and having their hands in the air. They're up at the piano. And what's really special is that because they're learning along, they can share and empathize and go to that next level of awareness and understanding of their children's learning.
Yes.
So, how it works is that we just work together as a team, and our expectation to a parent is that you are participating.
Yes.
You are engaged. You're not sitting on your phone. You're not sitting on a bench. You're not sitting in a waiting room. You're singing the songs. You're pointing in the music while your child is playing. So I hope that answers the question properly.
Yes. And, I too, in my teaching, I remember parents saying, well, it's kind of like me getting a free piano lesson because like my child is here learning music, but I have never learned anything. And, there have been parents that have gone all the way through the MYC program from Sunshine 1 to Sunshine 2 to Sunbeam 2 to Sunbeam 3 to Moonbeam 3 and graduated. And here their child is off to do, a piano exam and a theory exam. And the parent goes, maybe I should have practiced.
Well, it's not a law, but there is a really good percentage of parents that actually have the mindset that, you know what, I did this with them, so I'm going to do the exam with them.
Yes.
Right. And so when they sign their child up for the exam, they sign themselves up.
Well, they might as well.
They might as well. And they love it. And it's, again, such an incredible, feeling inside as for a child to see that their big grown up mom or dad is doing this too. Like what kind of message? That's like such an impactful message. And you don't get that opportunity very much. I know as a parent, right, to have those impactful moments with your children.
Yeah, I have a funny story to tell you, Olivia. So speaking of the parents, so one of my Moonbeam 3 grad classes, one of the moms did decide that she was going to do the piano and theory exam along with her daughter. Fiona is her name. And she said to me, she said, Glory, can I tell you what happened? Now, remember, these are really young children. So if you start when you're 3 in Sunshine 1 and you're graduating, like you're only 8.
8,
so
that's right.
At the theory exam, and the registrar who was letting everyone in the room to do the exam, she said, she looked her in the eye and she said, excuse me. She said, but your daughter cannot come into the exam room with you when you do your exam. And then Fiona said to her, well, excuse me, but it's my daughter who's doing the exam. She went, oh my, and she's like so little. And she said, yes, but she'll probably get a higher mark than I will. Students not only learn how to play the piano and read music, but they're also taught other important elements such as sight reading and composition and ensemble playing. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Music for Young Children is not about music for young piano. And that's the easiest way for me to say it. Our goal is creating really well-rounded musicians.
Yes.
So it's not just about, and I'm sure as music teachers that are here and we'll hear this afterwards, we've all had those students that transfer to you or say that they've had musical experience and they can't read music. Yes. They can't sight read. They can't do those types of things. And that's part of being a musician. Absolutely. Right. And as a musician, it's not just about isolating yourself and playing your solo. It's about sharing your music. It's about doing it together. And so that's what we really instill in our students and our children in our method is that it's not just about you, it's about the group. You're a team, right? So your job is not only to listen to yourself, but to listen to your other team members. And if you're not staying in time with them, if you're not doing this, and so ensemble playing happens not only at the piano, but also happens with percussion instruments. We really do, our focus is really making sure that foundation is wide and very strong.
Yes, and I think it also builds immense confidence. Because when I think about my own children that were in the Music for Young Children program, I mean, there they are starting when they're 3 and 5. And they were already performing when they were that age because they would play for the rest of the kids in the class when they were doing solos. They would, of course, learn, about listening skills because they're listening to other people play. I just think that one of the great things about MYC is that you create these well-balanced musicians and really develop musicianship skills. So question, of course, I know the answer, but I thought our viewers are putting questions in the chat, and we'll go ahead and read some of those comments later. This is one reason I love group lessons over solo lessons. Listening to the team, absolutely. Yes. Christopher, yes, absolutely. So why start music lessons when you're only 3?
3-year-olds are amazing little beings. They are so excited to be an active participant in the world around them. They have not necessarily been exposed or taught yet to be scared or judge. So they're sponges. They're ready. If you present something in a way to a 3-year-old that is engaging and fun, but it has some meat on it, they're ready to go. They just are ready to eat it up. And it really helps balance the different learning styles that they're experiencing as well. Right? In MYC, we engage in the 4 learning styles in every single concept that we teach. So they're not only seeing it visually, they're not only touching it, touching either puppets or their tin sheet or a large floor keyboard and placing their notes on that large floor keyboard. They're analyzing their music and they're ready to do that at 3-year-olds. Now, it's not the same as our university level analysis course, of course, right? But they can find that stepping up pattern and they love highlighting it. And, you know, as I say in my classes, let's start with what we know. Where does the music stop? Where does the music start? So the sunshine level for me, the 3-year-old level, is actually my favorite level to teach. It's because they're so ready. They, you know, and if you approach it in that, in the way that we do in MYC, they're just going to gobble it up.
Yeah. And I think you're so right, Olivia, when you say they are so open to learning and so excited to be there. I think sometimes when you have a student that's starting at the age of, 12, they already have this I can't do it attitude. Like it is a completely different way of learning. And when you're just little, like 3 to 8, you're just there like, okay, I'm learning, Now, before we get into the 3 reasons why parents need to participate in music lessons, what is the secret sauce in MYC's program in teaching young children, and how does having parents participate really contribute to the success? We've kind of dabbled in that a little bit already.
I would say part of MYC's secret sauce is that we do have such an amazing balance of movement, of group interaction. As I mentioned just now, teaching through our 4 learning styles, a solid pedagogical foundation as well. Frances had a triple, excuse me, I'm going to cough for a second. One of her focuses in university was children with learning difficulties and disabilities.
Yes.
So the way that MYC is presented to children is in very small slices.
Yes.
Right? Frances always said, if you break it down small enough, anyone can learn.
Yes.
Even the most complex concept in the world. And what's also different with MYC too is the way that we present and teach our curriculum is, a lot of methods will push, right? You're just pushing your student constantly. In MYC, we push and we plateau. We push and then we plateau. And during that plateau moment, we really submerge ourselves in the concepts that we've learned. And we learn and we show them how we can manipulate them and trigger different areas in their brain of understanding that concept.
Yes.
So that moment where we plateau, it is proven that children will accept more and take in more when they feel safe and they feel confident. Yeah. So that moment in the MYC method where we plateau allows children to get really warm and cozy. That makes them feel safe, makes them ready for the next step instead of pushing.
Yeah. I truly believe that is the secret sauce, because you're so right, Olivia. When you look at, most curriculums, they just keep going and going and going. And I think the other thing about the MYC program, when you do get to just catch your breath for a minute, that's when you really develop the confidence, because you go, oh, I really do know this. It's a little bit of a review and exploring maybe different ways of doing that. But you just catch your breath for a second. Okay, I'm good. And off we go to the next one. So I think one of the things that I think about is how we can empower children to set goals in their music while experiencing all this playful and positive environment. And, what do parents have to say about that?
Well, the goal setting is pretty, to me, pretty obvious within our MYC classes, and it's pretty apparent to our parents as well. I mean, the children are working towards finishing and completing the songs that they are playing. They are playing repertoire, even at 3 years old.
Yeah.
But I actively talk about that in our classes, and when we train our MYC teachers, we encourage our teachers to actively communicate, be transparent with the parents about this, with where we're going.
Yes.
You know, we have different incentives within our classes that we encourage our students to work together as individuals, as an individual goal, but also to set a goal as a group, right? I mean, I always say this, you know, you don't realize how much you need to be able to work as a group until you go into post-secondary schooling, because then your marks rely on someone else, right? So you got to figure it out. You got to figure out how to work with someone, right? And so we're instilling these goals and saying, okay, well, it's all right, Glory, if you're not here right now, but you can do this. And we figure out, okay, we do those different things. So it's very much empowering. And we also encourage that goal setting of okay, this is what we're working towards. The children see which music they're going to be playing later on throughout the year. We have celebratory moments within our classes to reinforce that within the parents as well, so they can see that and actually have a tangible something to hold on to.
Yes. I think too that when you talk about working in a group, and I'm speaking from experience, of course, I remember even doing the ensembles where we would be doing drums, or someone would be doing tambourines, or someone would be playing the bells, and one would lean over to the other one and say, oh, you need to hold it with your left hand.
Yeah.
Fist with your, so that, we're working together, and that's what having a band is all about. I mean, when you think of later, a lot of these kids have band in school, or they go on to choir. So really, they know about sharing and helping each other within the group. So it's really, really amazing to see it as a teacher and experience it as a parent. I think,
and it's fun. What's interesting too is that, like, it sounds silly to be like, and it's fun as a teacher, but you know what? We don't get to have a lot of fun sometimes when we teach, right? Let's be honest, we don't, right? So you get to have that fun. And as a parent, how often when you have active young children, do you actually get to have fun?
Yes.
Right? And someone else is in charge of discipline, and someone else is, but you can just have fun, organic fun with your child.
Absolutely.
But you're being productive.
Yes. I remember when I was teaching music for young children, and I would be done my class, and we have a separate studio, and I'd walk through the door and go to the kitchen, and my husband would say, like, I hear you in there just laughing all the time. Like, are you just teaching, or are you just laughing? And I said, well, I'm teaching and I'm laughing. Because that's how you have fun. And that's really how young children learn best, is through being engaged and doing fun activities. And as a teacher, we all see students who learn differently. And you talked a little bit about how MYC introduces concepts through auditory, tactile, analytic, and visual learning. Can you just expand on that a little?
Sure. So the way that we train and we deliver our method within our MYC classes is, the rule is pre-teach, 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 pre-teach. The last thing you do is you turn to your book.
Right.
Because you're teaching young children, and you want to have them experience on the highest level without distraction. So if we're going to introduce a new concept, we're going to sing a song about it. So they're going to activate their auditory. You're going to either do some solfege exercises, or you can do pattern exercises with your step bells or on the piano. So we want to make sure we have a listening element in every single, multiple times throughout our MYC class. The tactile is the puppets. As I've mentioned before, for each of our MYC critters, our rhythm critters that we have for the young children, we have puppets, we have stuffies that they can hold and rock and dance with, and experience that tactile, our tin sheet that has the magnets, with that fine motor tactile and placing the proper notes and things like that. And then on the big scale, as I mentioned, a lot of our teachers have floor keyboards, floor staff, where they can really use that tactile side. Analytical is not only about when you actually do finally turn to the book and start analyzing the book, which I've said that we do even in Sunshine 1 with our 3-year-olds, but it's also answering questions, asking questions to our students, getting them to think analytically as they move through our program. Ask it, just in the same way, when the children are in grade 2 or grade 3 in school, they start being asked analytical questions. Our students are ready for that because they know how to disperse information through their brain in a different manner to figure out the proper answer when it's asked a different way.
Right.
The visual learning, of course, you have your music in front of you, but we also have lots of different visual aids to help our students as well. We have games, we have just as much as possible. So regardless of what learning style a child is engaged with within your group lessons, so you could have 6 different children in your class all engaging in 4 different learning styles at once, because that's where they're at that moment, you will still have success.
Absolutely. And I know one of the things too, that when you are learning and engaging in all modalities, you actually learn faster than just if you sit there and learn visually or just through auditory. So by engaging in all learning styles, regardless of what your personal learning style is, you're still going to learn faster because you've been exposed to it in so many different ways. And as you said, that's also more fun, right? Because if it's just always this, it just, it takes me back to my days of teaching MYC and thinking, perhaps those reflections need to continue when those students graduate from Moonbeam 3. Like it can't just end. We need to still engage in those modalities because they had so much fun, and now they're just like, oh, the fun is done. I want to go back. Because young students need to experience music, right? Through singing and listening and homework and
movement and
movement. Absolutely.
And contact with other people and having that sharing element. It's so easy to, if you start traditional piano lessons or violin or voice or whatever, you're so isolated, not only in a room with a teacher, but you don't get any physical contact. You don't get any feedback from anyone else but your teacher.
Yes.
Right. And that can be a really positive thing, but that can also be, it might not just be enough, maybe getting a smile, getting that smile from one of your teammates in your class will turn a child's attitude right around just because they realize they're not alone.
Yes. Absolutely. One of the things that I love about MYC, I mean, there's a lot of things, but one of them that I think really stands out for me is that you are introducing, and I have saved everything from my own young children being in music for young children, but you expose them to creativity in composition. And that's huge. Like, how many people can say, oh, I teach a 3-year-old. Oh, and yeah, she composes.
Yeah. And this is her song.
Yeah. So how, just expand a little bit, because the composition program in music for young children is huge.
Yes. Yeah, we just finished. So we have composition has always been a part of the MYC method. Frances very much believed in that as a very strong composer herself.
Yes.
And the way that she goes about it is that she introduces the concepts through art. And so the children we're not immediately on the staff. We're not immediately trying to find pitches. We're teaching it away from that. We take one step back. And so we cover all of the concepts in composition, and we don't dumb it down. We call a motive. We call it a sequence. We call it inversion. We call it retrograde, even with the 3-year-olds. And they learn these complex concepts through art. So they have that comfort level and they feel that safety inside. And then we bring it to putting on a pitch or developing their motive or things like that. And we just take, again, as I mentioned, you slice it down thin enough, anyone can do it, right? And these little 3-year-olds are so creative, right? And it's not just about playing around on the piano. They want it to sound good too, right? So,
and I think that visual aspect of the art, Olivia, it really does help them, because if you just say compose music, you're like, about what? you have to have a visual aspect to think, well, do I want to be sad? Do I want to be happy? Am I going to write about my family, or am I going to write about a tree or a bird, or like, what am I, how do you start, right?
Right. And we work with our students through that. So generally, most of our MYC classes start in the fall and follow the school year. And so we start bringing in the composition aspect just after Thanksgiving, maybe beginning of November, around week 17, depending on when you start your classes.
Right.
And we start always with review. You start with what you know, and then you build upon what you know, and you can build your foundation bigger and stronger. So each level of the program is progressive and builds on the knowledge that they have from the previous level, so they can develop each of those elements very nicely. And, that's where we start. We start with our art, and we review that. And then we start with the little 3-year-olds. They're composing. They don't have the fine motor skills, but we have stickers. We have our critter sheets, so a typical, I wish I could bring it up and show you, but on our website, we have it. We'll show, there's an actual visual of our international winner, 3-year-old, and you see critters for their notes, and you see critters for their rhythms. And it looks like a crazy picture almost if you don't know what it means. But if you know the language of MYC, then you can play that song, and it's so pretty. I mean, sometimes those 3-year-olds, they'll have an interval of a sixth, but then they know how to resolve it, and it's just like, it just gets you.
Yeah, I always loved the composition. As I mentioned, I had 2 of my own children in the Music for Young Children program. And I remember when Sherry, my daughter, who is now a professional composer, but when she started in the MYC program, and I think she was doing the final level in MYC and working on her composition. And then she went and played it at the Winnipeg Music Festival. And what happens there is that you don't submit how old you are. You just put in your composition and the name of the composer, and then they invite you all to play. And ironically enough, her teacher at school had submitted a piece as well. And when we went in and everyone plays, and then they announced the winner at the end. And so Sherry won this composers competition, and her teacher looked at her and he didn't even know she played it. And he looked at her and said, like, where did you learn how to compose? And she said, Music for Young Children. I've been doing it since I was 3. And he went, geez, anyway, it was pretty funny. So Olivia, I think it's time for the big reveal.
Yes.
As the MYC program is a child and parent program, we've learned lots of great things about it today. So what are the 3 reasons why parents need to participate in music when their kids are ages 3 to 8?
Okay, so number 1, I would say, and I think that for me personally, it's not like a 1, 2, 3. They're all pretty much on the same level of reasoning. It is proven when parents are engaged and actively involved in their children's extracurricular activity, those children have a higher level of success.
Yes.
So it is a very supportive role that really helps their children succeed. Yes. And the reason why is because they have someone safe around them. They respect them. They want to make them proud. But it's done in a very healthy, organic manner within MYC.
Yes.
So the first one is 100% support leads to success. Number 2, with our society today, parents don't get a lot of time with their children. And so they end up almost being disengaged.
Yeah.
Right? They don't get a lot of one-on-one time. Really, really focused one-on-one time. The phones are away, iPads are away, and discovering who these little people are that are going to be active human beings in society. So I think it's really important that is so important in a child's developmental stages. When children are going through those stages, ages 3 to 8, those are massive developmental stages where your brain is developing and making those hardcore tracks of what decisions and how all those things are figured out in your brain, right? So when you have that only, again, supports those developmental stages that your children are going through, and again, will lead to their success, and that just resonates for me. The third one I would say is So I have the contact, I have the support. The third one is you share in success.
Yeah.
I don't, it's not redundant. I hope it's not redundant. You know, the parents that go to their hockey games and go to the dances and go to that and everything else, they're cheering and go, yay, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, you don't get that in music classes, right?
True.
Right?
Yeah.
So, but you do in NYC, right? And why parents need to do that is because, again, that reestablishes the child's foundation of self.
Yeah.
You know, we think that children need to grow up sooner than they really do. And then we're seeing these children turning to teenagers and adults and all these things, and we talk about it, how they don't seem to have the same drive, or they don't seem to have this, or they don't seem to have that. And how did this happen? Well, I can tell you how it happened, right? We stopped engaging with our children, and being part of an active participant in their lives. You know, so there you go.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you so much, Olivia, because I have experienced, you know, all aspects of music for young children as a parent and as a teacher, and not only seeing massive success with my own children, but seeing massive success with my students. And is it important to teach 3-year-olds? Absolutely. I think that we're giving them this massive opportunity, and the proof is in the pudding, as they say. You know, you wouldn't have 24,000 students in music for young children and 900 teachers if it wasn't successful, you know, and it speaks for itself. And I think one of the things that I love about seeing that, as a matter of fact, I recall Ray and I went out for dinner not too long ago, and there was a piano player, you know, playing in the corner of this really beautiful dining room that we went out for dinner. And I said, oh, wasn't that nice? You know, I couldn't quite see him, but he was there. And all of a sudden I saw him walking by, and he came to the table and he said, Miss Glory. And I said, Curtis? And he said, you taught me in music for young children. And he said, and I want to thank you. He said, because of you, he said, you put me on the path to my passion. He said, which is composing and performing. He said, I actually live in Toronto, but I just happened to be in Winnipeg doing this gig. And I went, oh my goodness. So you're seeing that result. And I think we know the benefits of the program for both the child and the parent. And I think maybe we should talk a little bit about, what if you want to become an NYC teacher? Like, how does teaching music, and maybe we can just talk about the growth, for example, as to not only you emotionally and professionally, but how can it also help us financially increase our income?
Well, right off the bat, I know there's lots of talk about this, about, oh, you need to make more money, we'll teach in group. Yes, you know, okay, well, I don't really agree with just jump in and start teaching group, because teaching group, if you haven't done it before, does take some time to figure it out. But yeah, financially, if you think about it, okay, so take your average half-hour private lesson, let's say it's $25, right? So in an hour long, on an hour space, you only have the opportunity to make $50.
Correct.
Right? We encourage and we guide our teachers when they start and they train with us, that you take the average cost of a half-hour private lesson within your area. So everybody's different. Some of you might have $15, some it might be $12, some it might be $30, you know, those types of things. And our teachers are not in competition with one another.
Take us through I'm teaching private, and now I want to expand, and I'm thinking music for young children is not only fun, but it's going to be an amazing financial
studio builder. Yeah, it's a major studio builder, especially for people that are running out of the referrals or word of mouth and things like that. The average student, if they start with you in NYC within your studio, they will stay with you a minimum of 5 years, more like 10.
Yes.
Because they don't want to go to another teacher when they finish NYC. They want to stay with the teacher that they've fallen in love with and have a relationship with.
Yes.
So if your studio can handle that, and so then all of those Moonbeam 3 grads turn into private students. So if you have 5 Moonbeam 3 grads per session, then that turns into 5 private students. The group sessions is an hour long. Easy math. You have 6 children in a class. In that hour long, as I said, you could only make $50. Even if you only charge $20 per class for that hour-long group lesson, you're making $100 during that same time. So you're doubling your income.
Absolutely.
You can teach a little bit more during the day, depending on how the schools are set up and your locations, stay-at-home moms. The homeschooling associations love our program because it's also an amazing social element for their homeschool children. So you can teach more during the day specifically too, if you know, so it just opens up your schedule in a different way, and it elongates your students' time within your studio.
Yes. Yeah, I think it is an amazing opportunity, and I highly recommend it, obviously. If you are looking to explore options as a parent, or if you're looking to take on a new teaching opportunity, they can go to myc.com. Is that correct, Olivia?
That is.
Yeah, and I just want you to share, just before we wrap it up today, can you share a little bit about what's coming up next for MYC? Because I know you got a big celebration coming up. What's all
Well, you know, the countdown is on, and we're going to be turning 40 in March. So you can keep your eyes and ears open for lots of different things that are going to be going across internationally, across Canada, the US, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, for celebrations that you can share in. We'll have some campaigns, especially for our grads. We have taught over 430,000 children in 40 years. And so we want to sort of capture those moments, those special moments of how. So keep an eye and open for that if you're an MYC grad. We have our MYC International Conference that is happening in Toronto in July 2020. And so we're really excited about that. We're going to have some amazing guest speakers. We're working on a really amazing special project with Christopher Norton. He's actually writing a book that will be only for MYC on how to improvise. So we're super excited about that. Well, it'll be available through MYC. It'll be available to the public too. So keep your eye. That'll be launched in July 2020. I'm also revising the Moonbeams 3 materials right now as we speak, and working very closely with George Laturst and Super Score. So keep your eyes and ears and fingers ready to discover some of our repertoire on Super Score.
Yeah. Well, it's so, you know, I feel so proud to be a part of the journey. And of course, I'm super excited about attending the conference and celebrating the 40th of MYC with you. And what's so exciting is that you're continuing to grow and evolve. I mean, you've taken MYC to other continents, and I know you've got a big trip coming up. And
yes. Oh, yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
There's so much. No, so we'll be. We're really super excited to be supporting Tim Topham's Pivot Conference in January 2020, January 23rd and 24th in Melbourne, Australia. We've had enough interest about MYC on and off that David and I decided to dig our heels and really figure out what's going on down under. So I will be there in person and be ready and willing to answer questions. And so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, Tim Topham. Well, of course, I'm in his inner circle as the theory expert, and I'm so looking forward to all the great things that are going to be happening with the piano pivot. So if you're interested in taking that trip to Australia, now is the time to do it, because it's going to be an amazing conference. Well, I wanted to say thank you so much, Olivia. You've filled us with inspiration, and I think whether you're a parent or whether you're a teacher, it is definitely worth exploring myc.com and seeing how you can make a difference in a child's life teaching music for young children. So thank you for joining me, Olivia.
Thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it. And thanks for everyone for joining us today. I appreciate that as well.
Yeah, we've got some great comments here. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, say something nice, by the way, and share. You can join our Ultimate Music Theory Facebook group so you can network with other musicians and educators such as Olivia Riddell. And if you want all the latest interviews and more Ultimate Music Theory tips, simply subscribe to our Ultimate Music Theory YouTube channel, because we release new videos every week, so you don't want to miss any. Thanks again, Olivia. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Teach with passion.